We're the Cole Guys. I'm George.
And I'm David.
Today we're joined with our friend Stephen Jerdan from Kingfisher Strength in Irmo, South Carolina.
The Cole Guys isn't your average real estate podcast.
Our mission is to give buyers and sellers the power of knowledge through their real estate transactions.
We do this by helping first-time homebuyers realize that there are more expenses that come with owning a home than just the loan.
We also understand there are many times move-up buyers and sellers have forgotten the process because it's been so long since their last real estate transaction.
We make the downsizing easy.
Once you get into the habit of working with us, the process becomes so smooth you won't mind to move.
We are also excited to share with you what all the Midlands has to offer.
So let's get started this morning. Stephen, welcome to the show. We appreciate having you here.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me. Yeah.
We have some history with you here, but you run a great gym here in the Irmo Ballantyne community, so we're excited to come in and spend some time with you, but we'll get to all that a little bit later. Kind of where we would like to start is just, share your story. How have you landed here in the boutique gym business?
Yeah. So what we decided to do when we created Kingfisher, it was really kind of sparked by a deployment. I'm in the Coast Guard Reserves, and what I did is a very good friend of mine, one of my best friends in the Coast Guard and in life in general, he and I spent an entire deployment pretty much really diving into a workout. So we were stationed at a Border Patrol station, and we pretty much had the gym to ourselves the whole time. And so we had a lot of time on our hands during the downtime. And so we really just kind of got into it, really got detailed. This was several years back. I had already been kind of working out a while, but once we kind of got into it, the road kind of started there. What created Kingfisher Strength was that my wife and I, we always had kind of a committed interest to the area. I'm originally from the area. My wife Tara moved to this area for a professional opportunity. We knew we kind of wanted to do something that was going to be fun and kind of passionate to us. And so what we ended up doing was had this kind of idea in the back of our mind when I was separately employed at a different career, and we just kind of took some active steps to kind of come here and create Kingfisher Strength. As kind of a passionate following from that kind of initial deployment from when we really kind of got into the science of lifting with my friend Bennett.
Awesome. Since we are in real estate, our next question is, can you tell everybody what you took this building from and made it into?
Yeah, so that's a great story. So I was actually on another deployment too, and my wife, Tara, was driving by, and this was a dry cleaner, right? This was a dry cleaner building. It doesn't quite look like that now. But yeah, it was a dry cleaner, had all metal racks, had some permanent fixtures up front, some desks nailed down to the ground, all that kind of stuff. And so Tara kind of gave me a shout one day, and she's like, "Hey, I've got our building." And I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Well, send me some pictures, So she sent me some pictures, and I was like, "Oh man, are you sure? Is this gonna be it?" And Tara said, Tara being a professional architect, Tara told me, she just goes, "I got this, I got this." And I was like, "Look, you tell me you got it, But it's been interesting. So interesting that we've had people still as recently as 3 weeks ago walk in with their laundry to try to drop it off to have it dry cleaned. So no, we've definitely revolutionized the place a little bit. Yeah.
Y'all, it sounds like y'all had one of those moments that sometimes George and I have with clients when they walk into a house, and because it just look past what it is now and put inside your head. But so you run across, you develop this idea of I want to start a gym while you're involved with your work with the Coast Guard. But so where did the passion for personal training come out of that? Where did the idea of I love lifting. I like the science of it. I see the health benefits of it. Let's go do this. Now how do you turn that into a career?
So that we knew through some personal experience, through some working out experience, that strength training is a growing thing in this area and nationally in general. We knew that there were some friends of ours and just some acquaintances and people we just ran into who were kind of looking for a space that just wasn't being filled. And we knew we wanted something that was going to be a little bit more focused and concentrated. Tara and I and some friends of ours, we'd been through, barbell lifting classes, 30 and 40 people in them, and it just never really seemed to work out, right? Yeah. You always have someone who's like, you have a group of people who are really experienced and a group of people who aren't, right? Or you have some people who just don't really know how to load the bar, or don't know what kind of weights they're looking for, things like this. And so it always seems like it kind of became a little bit of a slow process trying to train that many people in one room. So we knew we wanted to do something small, something focused, something concentrated where we could give some personal attention, but still have that community, right? Which is why we have the small classes that we have. It allows us an opportunity to kind of communicate with each person who's working out. We can have, whether it's technique corrective issues or whether it's just some kind of like small little cue or something, or maybe even something just taking them to the next level and getting them a little more advanced than before, while at the same time giving them kind of an intimate setting to kind of like lower that intimidation factor, and kind of get a lot of folks in here, and get that small community. You kind of get to know people, in a group of like 6. So that's kind of how we knew we wanted to kind of get it to the kind of focused element that we have now.
When you're first starting with that focused element, at first you're focusing on such a small number of people. How challenging is it to grow, especially when it's just you and Hannah starting out as being the trainers here? How do you grow in reaching out to the community and getting them to come to the gym?
So we have taken a lot of different approaches, I'll say that. So we knew we wanted to get off on the right foot. So we actually worked with a marketing firm that's local to the area, and we started working with them about a year and a half before we opened the doors. We'd been with them for a long time, and we kind of had a plan. We knew how we wanted to kind of approach our marketing strategy. We knew how we wanted, kind of our brand and our website, and kind of how we wanted it to flow. And what we did from there is we just kind of picked strategic points. But what we have really relied on pretty heavily is, I think, kind of the tried and true word of mouth. Something like 40% of our members are referrals from other members. It's a pretty astronomical number. It's a pretty high number. And that seems to really kind of carry the day. And what we do is we also reach out through other like community endeavors. For instance, I coach youth soccer. We sponsor the teams. We sponsor the league. So that gives us a lot of opportunities just to kind of talk about that. Talk about Kingfisher, especially helps with our youth classes that we have. That's a huge part of it. But yeah, that's kind of how we've gone around, and that's kind of how we've kind of started to kind of grow. But keep it kind of controlled growth, right? Because we want that. We still want that kind of focused and concentrated element to it. Yeah.
Awesome. So I want to pick up on something you just mentioned. You talk about, sponsoring youth leagues, and you have your youth classes here. For the longest time, at least when I remember, like weight training for like younger kids was like a no-no. Yeah. It's like there's no use to it. There's no benefit. You'll even hurt the kids if you do that. But I guess the science around and the thinking around that is changing, and you have taken it on as an initiative here on Saturday mornings to host a growing number of young people to come in and learn lifting and strength training as a form of exercise. So talk a little bit about why you're passionate about that, and what you've seen come out of it.
So what really got us thinking about starting a youth class was the coaching element. So I've got 2 kids, 2 young boys, both in elementary school. And I was definitely that dad who got like voluntold to coach, like the notice that goes out every league, every year. We don't have enough coaches. We need someone to fill, and I had both my boys doing youth soccer, t-ball, kind of all of it, And so I started kind of coaching there with a friend of mine, and it just kind of spun off into its own thing. Been coaching now, five and a half years. We had a lot of relationships. We had a lot of fun. It kind of just came natural to me and one of the guys that coaches with me a lot. It kind of came natural to us, and we really put a lot of the kids in our leagues, on the teams that we had in soccer and t-ball, through pretty rigorous training for their age, that was very science-based, right? And it was really because of our background with working out, background doing some other things. And so we knew we were kind of injecting that fitness element into coaching, kind of naturally. And so what we ended up doing was just kind of developing the idea of like, hey, let's marry these things, right? We've got this Kingfisher thing over here, we got this coaching thing over here, let's kind of blend it. And in terms of youth and lifting and all that stuff, and kind of the connotations that it's maybe they're too young to be lifting, or maybe it's dangerous for youth or what have you. The science is actually really like going way against that, and more of it's coming out every single year. I mean, the Mayo Clinic, right? They support lifting as young as 7, right? Wow. It helps with coordination. And it helps with confidence. It helps with mental development, with physical development, balance issues. It helps with so many things, with so many sports. And we're not, we don't have kids in here, loaded up with 225 pounds. You know what I'm saying? We're not crushing them down. You know what I'm saying? There's no, we're not doing anything like that. What it really is it's more getting them learning their bodies, moving in athletic ways, right? Getting some technique down with some lifting elements to it is really what it comes down to. So yeah, that's kind of how we got those things together.
So David and I, we both had the opportunity to go up to North Carolina and run the Spartan race with you.
Yes.
Can you kind of talk through how you blend in those activities into the strength training you're doing with people to train them for stuff outside of just brute strength?
Yeah, so
He didn't show up for Saturdays for the training ahead of going up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. No, George was conveniently absent for all the Spartan trainings we had leading up to it, even though I know you were in town a few of those weekends. Yeah, no. So what we really did, we had a group of people who were pretty ambitious about taking their
some
next steps.
trained, some not.
Yeah. Some very well-trained people, some very not so well-trained people. Yeah. But what we had a really group of ambitious people. What made it really interesting, it was kind of on a whim. We just started talking about like some activities that like how you can take functional fitness and kind of apply it. And we started talking about things like mud runs and races. And it actually kind of, the idea was kind of came from the class that David, that you attend, where we had one of our members who has done a mud run, and she was kind of telling her story, and it's like, oh, we ought to do that. So kind of on a whim, it was like, oh, let's do this. And then started kind of talking about it, and other people were like, yeah, I'm in, and then we eventually had a pretty solid group there. What was awesome about it was not a single one of us had ever done that before. So
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, not a single one of us had ever done a Spartan race before. So we were kind of jumping into the deep end, right? But what we wanted to do is really just like use the things that we learn, right? Like use the fitness that we have. And it's not just about lifting weights, right? It's about that functional fitness, right? And using that in kind of a practical but fun but kind of team building way. Unfortunately, we decided to make that decision when it was like 20 degrees outside up in the Asheville Mountains doing a Spartan race, where I had just got done telling that they were knocking ice off the water and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we all started a little cold, but yeah, it really came from the idea of just trying to like take this idea of functional fitness and make something fun of it and something practical that you can kind of do as a community. That's kind of where that idea came from.
So to follow up on that a little bit, what did you learn about yourself doing that? Because like I know I came away with some like things going on in my head about it, and I'm sure George did as well. But like, what did you take away having accomplished that goal? Because it's not 5 kilometers and 20 obstacles.
Yeah,
it was not necessarily an easy thing.
I learned I can climb all kinds of things. That's did not realize exactly. You know, when you're kind of met with an obstacle right in front of you, you kind of learn a lot about yourself, right? A lot about your motivation. The biggest thing that I took away was really exactly how you can apply yourself to something that's brand new, to something that is totally alien to you, right? Totally unfamiliar, and how it can be, while it can be slightly uncomfortable at first, like once you kind of stare it in the face, right? You can kind of overcome it, because hadn't done a Spartan race before, right? Hadn't done obstacle courses aside from like some real small stuff and like boot camp and whatnot at the Coast Guard. Hadn't ever done a 5K with 20 obstacles. Hadn't ever done it in sub-freezing temperatures. You know, hadn't really done any of this stuff. So to kind of show up with a group of supporters, you know, with folks who were there to kind of accomplish a team mission, right? And to kind of overcome these challenges that kind of isolated. If you take any one of them, you're like, I don't know if I can do that. You know, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do that. And just kind of like throw it all at you at one time and be able to like overcome all of that without any you know, too much experience, you know, in that specific thing. That was kind of my big takeaway. I was pretty blown away at everybody, and kind of the response to that much new stuff, especially on the fitness side, right? Like it was pretty hard, right? So yeah, and that was my biggest takeaway.